Richard Rosenzweig. Carol Berman.
Here.
Sidney Goldberg.
Here.
Alan Cantor.
Here.
Arthur Greenwald. Mike Keller. Art Kaplan.
Here.
Gerald Levine. Sidney Lichter. In the building. Lou Wunderlich. Nelson Mellis.
Here.
Alan Paley. Here. Jerry Silverman. Gary Ginsberg.
Here.
Scott Stevens.
Here.
Ron Silvernell.
Here.
Rossman Schultz excused. Jacob Romo. Shirley Zak.
Here.
Spencer Katz, absent. Sophie Rutherford. I'm sorry. I apologize. Sophie Rutherford. Absent. Sandra Cantor.
Here.
Iris Goldwasser. Rosalind Kaplan.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you.
President.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes? Second. All in favor? I'd now like to call on our national commander. Any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. Greetings from our national commander, Jeffrey Scott.
Can you hear me now? I feel like the guy from, what do you call it, Verizon? Okay. You know, this has been a rough year, hasn't it? I mean, not just for JWV, but for the museum too. You know, the museum was closed a good part of the year, but what they had was they had virtual programming, and I certainly, as National Commander, enjoyed the virtual programming. So we made the most of technology, which is, I think it's going to be here to stay. Matter of fact, some of my best reads came from the programs that the museum put out. I want to thank the museum and the staff, because without the museum and the staff, we could not have had all the materials for the 125th anniversary that you all saw disseminated, through JWV in the paper, on Twitter, on Facebook. Our 125th anniversary program that we did on March 15th. It was without Pam and Mike, and of course under Mike and his tutelage in this. So I wanted to thank you for everything the museum did. Also for the 30th anniversary of Desert Storm, on behalf of the Desert Storm Committee, because we had that special program that we put together for that too. Thank you, Mike. So I hope the museum has a very good year, and all you fellow board members carry on the good work. I guess I'm now going to be an active part of a committee.
Thank you, Jeff. And now we will hear from the president of the National Ladies Auxiliary, or well, she's past national president, Natalie Blank. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the National Ladies Auxiliary, I would like to thank everyone for coming to our museum meeting. I am hoping that all of you are members of the museum. I am a proud member. If you aren't a member now, this is a good time to sign you up and support our legacy. I am sure you will all know that we are having plans for a memorial garden and several online exhibits. My museum chairman, Iris Goldwasser, will tell you more about the garden and the exhibits. I thank you, and I'm asking you all, please make a generous donation. Thank you. We will now have remarks from our president of the museum, Michael Berman.
First of all, I apologize for not standing. just not in the cards for the day. Sunday night, we had a presentation from the World War II Museum on Jewish POWs in the German concentration camps. I gather we had about 50, 55 in the room and another maybe 35 online. We had close to somewhere between 75 to 100 people. And what I've been told is that it was an outstanding presentation, and the lady did a marvelous job. And for those who don't know, we had reached out to the Jewish Museum of the Southwest. They were not able to accommodate us, but the World War II Museum absolutely did. And so we thank Mike Rugel, who did the solicitation. No negative comment on that word, but we thank him. We've had a series of lectures on Facebook, or actually I guess it was WebEx. And they have been, the first one was a panel discussion on the Jewish experience during the Vietnam experience. And that had, the first night, I guess, close to about 170 people attending. The second of those two series, we had a drop-off, but still well over 100. That says we're doing something right as a museum. We have an exhibit opening, we hope, around Veterans Day on Jews in the military during Vietnam. And that is everything, and I think Bob Jacobs is in the room, Jerry Silverman, the two honchos, working so very closely with Pam. Jerry Alperstein. Good. I'm glad. And that is, something new, something fresh. And again, we were able to put that together quickly, but very, very professionally. The one following that up is going to be the Jewish women in the military. Carol Berman, no relation. Carol, raise your hand. All right, don't surrender yet. And Carol's going to be honchoing that. We're going to have some donations. We're doing some fundraising. And again, we're doing a great job. And again, it's Mike and Pam, Pam and Mike, Mike and Pam, Pam and Mike. You name it, and that's our entire staff. The other offices of this great museum are absolutely outstanding. Elaine Bernstein, the first vice president, is going to conduct the rest of the meeting. But let me just finish a few other things. We've been working with the National Museum of American Jewish History and our museum together to have some virtual exhibits so that the two museums will benefit from this level of cooperation. It's outstanding. We have any number of other projects going on. First of all, let me thank Iris Goldwasser and Ed Goldwasser, who are working on the Memorial Garden that she'll give the report on. And she will continue on, or they will continue on, because they're an absolute wonderful partnership for 66 years. For 66 years. That's older than some of us are in the room, but never mind, that's it. And they are going to work on special projects, and Iris will report on Memorial Garden. And finally, Jerry Levine from New Jersey has offered to take on the chairmanship of fundraising generally, with Iris and Ed working with him closely, so that we will hopefully do some major fundraising in many regards to help Carol with her Women in the Military project and generally projects for the museum. Our museum is a hidden gem near DuPont Circle. I don't dare ask how many of you have been there and how many of you have not. I don't want to embarrass anyone. But if you're on this board, please make it a trip worthwhile, assuming you don't live in California, Hawaii, or Alaska. They're all west of the Mississippi, as far as I can tell. We have a museum we can be proud of. It's a professional museum. We will be opening a second exhibit, hopefully this time or next year for Veterans Day again. The ribbon cutting for the Vietnam veterans, or the experience of the Vietnam era veterans from Veterans Day, Veterans Day, 125th. That is something we all can be proud of. It is something many of us of that era went into the service not knowing what the heck we were going to do. Whether you got into the service by choice or by lottery or by draft number, we all went in. And I say this, and every one of us says the same thing. There but for the grace of God go I, when we go to Arlington and we see names of people we served with. None of us by choice have our name on that wall, but we did what we had to. And we signed a blank check to our government. I will defend this country with everything I have, and if necessary, my life. So I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll now call on for a budget report, Alan Paley.
Good afternoon. Okay, we have passed out 2 sheets. The first one that's double-sided is the actual budget and the cash basis numbers. One side contains revenue, the other side contains the expenses by line item. And then we have prepared a 1-page summary, which I think is easier for everyone to understand. It's also up on the screen if it's difficult for you to read. So let me go over some of the basics. First of all, I want to thank the members of the Budget Committee. Again, this is a committee that works all year long. So Selena Kanowitz, Barry Lashinsky, Larry Rosenthal, Erwin Magid, David Zwerrin, and Elliot Don. I thank you all for everything you've done. So these are the results for the year that just ended on June 30th, just a few weeks ago. So Julia was very good in getting these numbers put together for us so that we could present them to you today and give you a quick variance to the budget. So if you look at the revenue side, you'll see the audited numbers for 2018, 2019, and 2020. Those are confirmed by our auditors. And then in the 3 columns that are bordered, you will see the cash basis numbers for 2021 as compared to the budget for last year and the variance. So keep in mind that these numbers are based on the actual cash that was received. And the books and records for year 2021 have not been audited yet, so there could be some minor adjustments that are made by our auditors, but we felt that these numbers were important enough to get to you prior to them being audited. So if you look at the 1-page sheet, it's divided. On the left side are all of the revenue categories. The top of the left-hand sheet shows all the revenue categories that came in positive to variance, which means we brought in more money than we anticipated we would in the budget. And those were the annual membership dues, bequests, donations for restricted funds, exhibits, certificates, and memorial and candle program. And it shows you the numbers there. Below that, on the left side, are the revenue lines that we came in less than what we anticipated. Life membership, bequest, miscellaneous revenue, museum store, calendar revenue. Okay? So again, if you look at the 2-page sheet on the revenue side, you'll see we had a budget we estimated that we would bring in $184,850 in revenue. We actually came in with $418,000. So we are $170,000 better than we anticipated on the revenue side. Now, if you look at the expense side, and that's on the right-hand side of the form, again, at the top are the expense lines that came in favorable. We spent less money than we anticipated. Calendar expense, employee benefits, payroll taxes, and salaries. Now, I do have to tell you that anything related to payroll taxes, and salaries are all paid by JWV. And at the end of the year, when the auditors looks at the books and records, they make an adjusting entry to take some out of JWV and put it into the museum. So those line items, these variances could be reduced substantially, but again, it's not enough to delay presenting the numbers to you. On the bottom right are the budget lines in expense that came in unfavorable, where we spent more money than we anticipated. Advertising and promotion, computer consulting fees, lecture series, printing and reproduction, professional fees, security, telephone, and the art site program. So on the expense side, we budgeted that we would spend $354,850. We actually spent $337,000, so we were $16,877 positive. So for the year, okay, we budgeted that the museum would lose $170,000. The museum actually earned over $80,000. So they operated in the black for the year. They did not need to borrow any money from JWV. So based on that, if you can look all the way over to the right, you'll see that we budgeted next year for a loss of $109,000. Because we don't know what's going to happen with bequests and donations, it's the opinion of the Budget Committee that we do not change the budget and we leave it the way it is. Are there any questions? Ed?
Yes, Mr. Commander-elect, I must be missing something, but the total revenue for the year 2021 cash and budget, the revenue is 418,000 actual.
Mm-hmm.
The budget is 184,
Mm-hmm.
and you're showing a variance of 170.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers don't add up.
You are right. There's a mistake. If you look at the line that says, I think it, wait a minute, I'll tell you in a minute. Grants. We got at $34,658 in grants, and it doesn't have a variance to the budget. That's a mistake in the spreadsheet, which I just caught about 2 hours ago. So I was unable to change that. So the cash basis numbers are correct. The 418 is correct. Okay, the 184 is correct, but the difference between the two is not, because it's missing $34,000. That was the only mistake that I could find.
I think it's more than that.
Okay, then I'll have to look at it and tell you specifically.
Even adding 134,000, the difference is still 384, doesn't add up.
Okay, I will look at it. Okay. Okay, David?
Yes, David Magidson, Post 243. Let me tell you the good and the bad that people need to understand, then I'll ask you a question. The good is, thank God, we have Michael and we have Elaine. I mean, they're terrific as far as the museum is concerned. Not the bad, but people need to understand this. You walk away here and say, oh, this year we had a profit, whatever it was. Understand that we had $200,000 in bequests. People have died, and they gave us the money. You don't know next year if somebody's going to die and give you money. So the museum, basically, we have $300 and some thousand that it costs. Eddie knows the figures, and thank goodness Eddie's here. We have $300 and some thousand. We do it on a rubber band. We do marvelously, but on a rubber band. That's what we do. We fly airplanes on rubber bands. So you have $300 and some thousand, of which the majority of it goes to salaries, which is absolutely necessary if you want to have an outstanding museum because of the people that we have. But understand this. We're talking about a $110,000 deficit for next year, absent people dying and giving money. So you can either die and give money, which hopefully you don't have to do next year. I don't have to do, nobody has to do last year. Or we've got to figure a way to do something about this. Or understand this, when everybody says, oh, we ought to contribute to this from our post, and we ought to contribute from that from our post. You contribute to the museum. How can we contribute to other people when we have $110,000, and that's going to come from JWV making it up? Did I say anything that was incorrect? I probably said something there, Alan, but I just
No,
wanted
you're
to make
fine.
sure. I want to make sure people walk away from here understanding the museum is run with a tremendous deficit. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, but it's run with a deficit. So if you can put us into your will, if you can put us into whatever it is, put it in, whether it's $15,000, $20,000 or whatever. Please do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the budget? Okay. Oh, yes?
Does the women in the military have a restricted fund also for their proposed exhibit?
Yes, they do.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion, Alan, we'll pass it.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the numbers as presented. Second? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried.
Okay, I'm up next as Personnel Chairman. I'd like to thank my committee, Shirley Zak, Alan Cantor, Nelson Melitz, Lou Wunderlich, and Sid Lichter. We were supposed to have a meeting here, which we did not. I canceled because everything really that needed to be done was done at the last Board of Directors meeting. We have two wonderful people in the museum office, as you heard. We have Mike, who's here with us, and Pam Elby, who unfortunately isn't here. I was hoping she was going to be, but let's hope next year so you can all meet her too. We're blessed. We're blessed. If we didn't have them, I don't think we can have a museum. So please be nice to them when you call them. And please make sure if you want to send anything into the museum, you do it the correct way. The correct way is to go online and download the form and send it to Pam to see if we can use what you want to send. If everybody keeps sending in the same things, we have nowhere to display them. So Pam will decipher whether we can use the material or not. So please, I'm begging you to go that route when sending things to our museum. At this time, I'd like to have an exhibits report from Kim Queen.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Is this on? Okay, good. Well, this is my first year as chair of the Exhibits and Programs Committee, and I want to thank the President, Mike Berman, for placing trust in me to carry this very responsible position. We have had 5 meetings during the year so far via Zoom, and I want to congratulate Mike Rugel and Pam Ebley for participating in these meetings and providing our committee guidance. Also, we decided not to have a meeting here at the convention because we have met continuously through the year and had a meeting just 2 weeks ago. A lot of my report has already been covered, and I thank those people for doing that. Less talking. One of the things, again, we had a really outstanding agenda this year in programming despite COVID. A lot of people have attended these programs that are not even members, they're not even Jewish. But we put the word out and getting interest in our museum. One of the other things done is that our committee has cooperated with the marketing committee. Many of you saw the new convention display, and the museum will always be a part of that convention display. Let's see, what's here. Looking forward, we've talked with Mike and Pam about more cooperative efforts with other museums throughout the country, especially Jewish military museums or military museums that have Jewish history. The last thing that's come up is is a growing interest to have some kind of a display that talks about the history of JWV as an organization. And working with Mike and Pam, we'll be presenting a proposal later in the year. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Iris Goldwasser for fundraising. She's going to come up this way.
Short people. Can you hear me? Okay. Just as our country has had financial slowdown this year due to the pandemic, so did our museum. People's pockets have grown thinner, and so did our museums. However, just like you, we keep pushing forward and hope for better times. Our paver program to date has raised $152,775. The entrance to our building at 1811 R Street remains impressive and attracts many visitors and passersby. Many stop just to read the inscriptions on the bricks themselves. Although there are two huge steps approaching our entrance, I'm happy to report that the bottom step is completely covered with your engravings, and the top step is about 75% covered already. There's about 30 pavers left on the top step. We urge anyone who would like to be included to please contact our office before you get closed out. For your convenience, we are offering to reserve your paver now for a $100 deposit, the balance to be paid when it is engraved within the year. Our Heroes Kiosk exhibit has raised $12,300 to date. Remember, all we need to include your hero is a 4x6-inch photo with some service information. During this past year, we have offered a discounted fee of $100 rather than the usual $180 to do this, and have seen a positive response. We hope to continue this special offer for 2021 to 2022 only, and look for your participation before it's too late. For your information, we haven't spoken about our Tree of Honor for a long time, but I just want to let you know there are still some rocks available that can be sold underneath and placed underneath the tree that's already on the wall. And that tree is beautiful, and I don't know how many of you know, but I think it's raised about $300,000 in the past. So we would like to complete that. There has been a new program in development at this time, one you've heard about before, the Memorial Garden. We were going to design this for the outside area of our building, just adjacent to the steps and the entrance. It will include 2 benches, an eternal light, memorial plaques, trees, some greenery, pavers around the edge, etc. But a fee schedule for this has not yet been finalized, so more information will be forthcoming shortly. Just as a little background on our Memorial Garden and fill you in on what was happening between the time I wrote this report and now. Some months ago, we did receive several proposals for the Memorial Garden. One of them that we had chosen was from a company that had done some other work in our building and around our building, and it was originally about $46,000. But we had made some small changes and added some pebble work and another few paver areas. Anyway, requested of them a new rendering, and yet we have not received anything. And so we've put forth, when they came back to us without the new rendering, they told us they had miscalculated, and it wasn't really 46,000, it was, I think, about 80. So that was a big shock to all of us. To make a long story short, we have now applied for more proposals and more renderings from other companies again, and we're waiting to hear from other people and other companies, and we're still waiting. But There may be more to that soon, I hope. Also in development, you already heard about the women in the military that was updated, and also the Jewish experience during the Vietnam War. All exhibits, or your museum is busy working. We don't stop. Although isolation has been difficult, we have not stopped working on behalf of our museum. Development has not been stalled. Phones and computers continue to be the modes of communication that keeps us going, and we look forward to a time again of normalcy, and we will appreciate life and living more than ever. However, as always, if you have any questions regarding anything in the museum, please don't hesitate to call Mike. Mike Rugel is a right hand. He's a blessing, and there's never a question he can't find out the answer for. In regard to the Memorial Garden, before we can really collect any money, we have to entertain a motion for the approval of this as a museum program. And so at this time, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. That's about the end of my report. Do you have more? Yeah, go ahead, honey.
Yes, I have one thing to add. In as much as now we have approved the concept of the Memorial Garden, the Department of New York pledges $50,000 for it. And that was based on the fact that the original proposal was 46, and here we thought we'd be a little generous and give them an extra 10%. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But we are committed to the 50,000.
Thank you to the Department of New York. I have a report here from Hannah Deutsch, who's the certificates chairman, that I'm going to read. My last report for the period was on 8/17/20 for an amount which was $2,717 for a 5-month period. At the time, I asked the membership to not fall behind and to try to raise $3,400 to keep up with the previous year. When I now got the annual figures from Mike covering the period of 8/17/20 to 7/21/21, I thought I did not see right. The number for JWV was $6,837 and JWVA $50 for a grand total of $6,887. I can only say thank you, thank you, thank you. When Bob Zwyman appointed me chairman so many years ago, the figures were around $700. I can only hope that the many certificates were used for birthdays, get well, etc. cards, and not too many for condolences. A few years ago, I brought to the board an idea I had, which was accepted and has proven a blessing money-wise for our museum. A couple of years ago, I had another idea which I presented to the presidents and never even got an acknowledgement. Years ago, I changed the price of the certificates. We were charging $10 per certificate, of which $2 were returned to the post. I suggested to sell 5 certificates for $40 to the members and posts. If the post wanted to sell them for $10, there were no objections on the money amounts that has come in since then. There is no comparison. We can double and triple the amounts if we leave the decisions to the posts and chapters. If they don't want to participate, that's quite all right. My new suggestion was that we send and bill the posts and chapters for the first $50, and as soon as they have their money back, they can make their own decisions. It is not costing them, as they can sell the certificates for $10 or $8, and then it would be only $30. I understand the board, they don't want to burden the post or chapters, but the time has come where they have to make their own decisions and not be dictated what they can do. Please remember, this is Hannah Deutsch, not me. This came about that members asked me for certificates, and I don't have any. I had to tell them to phone Washington, and that was not well accepted. They wanted them now. We have various pools and other things. Why can't the post handle the certificates? The same goes for the department. The money raised will be handled by the quartermaster, who will accumulate the money and send it to Washington for a refill. If the post wants to charge $10, the extra $2 would cover the postage or raise pennies for the post. If it gets known in the community, they might even buy them to support us, and that would be 5 for $40 or whatever the post decides. Please think about it. Our museum will be the only remembrance of us after we are gone. The next thing we need is to make every post and chapter member a member of our museum. It is not included in our JWV and JWV membership. Stay well, in comradeship, Hannah Deutsch, NMI Certificate Chair. I'm assuming that the committee will discuss this, right? Okay. Is there any old business? Under new business, I call on, was it?
Saturday open?
Yeah, I mean.
This
we're
is
gonna
an
get
old
back to
business.
the- We're gonna get back to the same old question about keeping our museum open on the Sabbath. Many Jewish museums are doing it. They're not charging their regular admission, those that charge admission, and they leave it up to the people to honor their commitment of submitting the expensive admission after the Shabbat. I think, and we'll revisit this again and again, I'm sure, but tourists coming into Washington DC come in on Thursday or Wednesday or Friday and leave Sunday, and if we're not open, we're losing out any possibility of visitors coming to our museum. We keep professing what a wonderful place it is, and it is. It is. It's a jewel. People don't realize it, don't understand it, don't know it. And by being closed to tourists on the Sabbath, I feel, and a lot of other people feel, that we're losing out the possibility of attracting non-members of JWV to visit our facility. And I think it's something that we have to revisit.
You want to talk on it? Or?
And I make a motion, and you can't make a motion on the old business, but I think we should refer to new business if it's so.
Well, new
desired.
business will be that.
Norman Rosenshine, past national commander, past president. I understand what Eddie said, and I'm one of the people who has stood up here and spoke against this motion, or this time. It's really hard to run an organization that we close on the Jewish holidays, and we're going to be open on Shabbos. I sometimes work on Shabbos, I have no one to say it, but as an organization, I have always felt that Shabbos is our second most religious holiday. Yom Kippur is the second most religious holiday. And you determine it by the number of Aliyahs, and Shabbos always has one more Aliyah than Yom Kippur. And I find it hard to, as an organization, open on Shabbos while we're closed on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot and Passover. The amount of people that we're missing is actually, realistically, Mike, how many times have we been asked for a tour on Saturday? No, I know, we only, and not counting the expenses, which would be more expensive, but that's, I agree with Eddie, that's a secondary issue. So I'm very much against opening up on any Jewish holiday. So I'm waiting to see what the body says, that kind of thing. I'm flexible, Not very flexible sometimes, but flexible. Eddie?
Yeah, just as a point that we have on special occasions opened on Shabbat. We've had religious services.
Yes, we have.
And the building remained open after the services, and we had a pretty good turnout of people from the community coming in and so forth. And until you try, until you advertise it, let it be known that we're there, whatever the area bigwigs are as far as museums and advertising and what have you.
Okay,
We don't know.
yeah, let me, I want to talk to Mike and address part of what Eddie said. We have a group of relatively Orthodox that come in, Mike?
Yeah, they're an independent minion that.
Yeah, come up to the mic so the other people can hear you. And we do open on Saturday for this group because they run the service. They open the Torah, and I have no problem with that. So let Mike explain what we're presently doing. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so right now, there's an independent minion called Rosh Pina that comes to the museum. They're just getting back to coming every other Saturday. And so they come Saturday morning and hold services and leave.
Well, question to you, Mike. Would they allow other people to come as long as they sit appropriately? And I'm not going to tell them how to run their service. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I believe so. I obviously have to check with them, but I don't think there would be a problem.
I have, as long as we hold the service, we have done our religious commitment. And people who walk through the museum, they walk through the museum. I don't have a problem with that. We have a guard there, and letting the guard stay longer is not a problem. Ed?
Well, let me ask you this question. If this group is coming in every other Saturday, would it be possible to advertise the fact that a service would take place and the building would remain open for the balance of the day until such time
Yep.
To visit?
We have to talk, I agree with you, Ed, but I want to talk to Rosh Pina. I don't see any objection, but I don't want to say to them they have to let people in. They're going to, but I don't want to answer you until they agree to do it. They've never stopped us from coming in. We've had people come in before from them. So I think it's a good way to start. Yeah, yeah. Jerry? Yes, yes. Yeah, well, they use the chapel. They use the chapel every week, or every 2 weeks. Yeah, Mike, I don't see a problem with that. You, Mike?
Either that, or perhaps if they leave at 11,
Oh, no, we'll keep the building
we
open. That's,
keep
yeah,
the building
yeah.
open post 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
They use the chapel till 11, and then
What-
from 11 o'clock on,
But I want, I want other people to be able to sit and do the service. I don't want somebody to come and say they threw me out.
right.
Yes.
And that is again,
Yeah, yeah. Short, Jerry, short.
Okay, I have some information on Ed's question. I actually joined the Jewish War Veterans because back in 1994...
Jerry, make it as short as possible, please.
Yeah, I joined the Jewish War Veterans because I was visiting my daughter at George Washington University, and we were looking at the Weekender section of the Washington Post, and there it was listed on all of the museums alphabetically, the National Museum of American Jewish Military History. So it's in there without even advertising it, and it's just getting the information that within the text of the Weekender.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, Kim, hold on 1 minute. Go ahead.
I am very much for the museum to be open on Saturday. And I'm not referring to the service part. I have had many family members go to DC. Most of them go Friday night and come home Sunday. And I've always said, I want you to go to our museum. My family and most of my friends know how involved I am in the Jewish War Veterans Ladies Auxiliary and the museum. Most that are going for such a short period can only go on a Saturday. And they would all be happy to make a donation to the museum, since we can't ask for money on a Saturday, if you had some kind of box sitting there, which we have. So I am very much for the museum being open on a Saturday, because that's the day a lot of tourists are going to museums.
Wait a minute, we have an order. I'm going to let Kim speak, no, but what I want, if everybody is in favor of it, I don't want everybody getting up here and saying the same thing over and over, because what I'm going to ask for after Kim speaks, Iris will speak, and then if anybody wants to speak against it, I want to hear the people against it too, because so far everybody is speaking at least as positive as me and Eddie. Go ahead, Kim.
Well, yes, and I agree wholeheartedly with what Ed is saying and Alan, because we all have different levels of observance. Those of us who are very observant are not going to go to the museum on Shabbat. But many of us and many of our family members are less observant, and they want to participate in the Jewish military history experience, and they can't because of the limited time in DC. I think that by not being open on Shabbat, we are hurting our exposure to the community, we are hurting our fundraising, we're hurting our membership and participation, and I think that we should go ahead. There are times when I do not do things on Shabbat. My wife is very much more observant than I am, and she says, look, we're not doing this today. But on the other hand, she knows that there are people that don't. And again, I support being open on Shabbat.
Okay, thank you. Iris? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we yeah, that administratively we can do all those things. Carol?
All right. So I'm not necessarily against this motion. However, I would like to request something to be put in place. The bottom line is, as in terms of different levels of observance by our membership, whether or not they're Orthodox, conservative, or reform. As a matter of fact, my family would be basically called conservadox. But the bottom line is, if we're going to go down this path, we need to do quantitative and qualitative. Because the bottom line is, if we're going to open up on Saturdays, that's additional cost to the budget, to the what revenue are we coming up with? My question was about the group that comes in and do worship. I'm assuming they're assuming the cost of the security guard coming in with them when they have those days of services, right? So that's something that we as an organization is not responsible for, that revenue, paying the security while they're there. However, if you're doing it on the opposite Saturdays, on those opposite days of Shabbat, that means we have to incur that cost as an organization. So my question is it really going to be worth it to us to be open that extra day, and especially since we're going
Carol,
to...
we're going to start with every other week.
No. I mean, I understand that. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that whatever move we make from a revenue standpoint, it's got to be the best bang for our buck. We can't, right
Yes.
now, from what I'm hearing in this meeting, we're not where we need to be from a financial standpoint.
Correct.
So my question is, can we, one, make sure that we're getting that information, that making sure that our venture is worth it? Number two, can we put on the table that we give this a year, 12 months? We look at the actual numbers of people who are coming through the museum, looking at how it's increasing the amount of funds that we're receiving as an organization, and overall see that it's worth it. And then after that 12-month trial period, we say, okay, yes, this is worth it. We bring it back to the membership. We decide we're going to move forward, or within 12 months, hey, this is not worth it. It's creating too many problems for us, or heartburn with some of our membership. We're going to squash that, and we're going to come up with another way of moving forward. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Basically, we're going to do what Carol said. What we're going to do is look at how much money we bring in to see that we cover for the off weeks by the weeks that we're here. Right now, we are covered for every other Saturday. And my hope is what everybody's saying, is that the donation cards will be enough that we can go to every Saturday and cover the expenses. And we won't know that for 6 months, at least. And certain weeks, middle of the winter, I could tell you, other than Rush Pina, nobody's coming because there's too much snow. So we won't be able to do this averaging until we're between 6 months and 12 months. If we're getting clobbered by expenses, we'll have to stop. So it's not going to be a money loss. And quite frankly, even if we lose a little bit of money, if we're getting exposure to some degree, it's worth it. Jerry?
I speak in favor of your idea, but I want to speak negatively about some other things that I've heard. Look, the majority of our members are not Orthodox and lean to less observance than more observance. That is irrelevant. We are a Jewish organization, and while we choose to live our lives however we do in terms of observing Judaism, as a Jewish organization, holidays, Shabbos, and other factors in the for a Jewish organization are different than how we live our lives.
If I might interject for a minute. Keep in mind, our museum is not a Jewish organization. It is a nationally recognized museum. So that when you indicate or you say that we are a Jewish organization, this museum is not. So bifurcate museum and JWV. Let me define the word bifurcate. Split. So if the argument is we're a Jewish organization, we are not. We are a secular museum.
I also want to remind all you youngsters out there, one of our past presidents was not Jewish. A gentleman named Hyde, correct, Eddie? Right, so it's not a requirement at all to be Jewish. It is not a requirement to be Jewish to be a member of the museum. Or an officer, right. Oh yes, the museum. JWV, it is a requirement. A hard requirement. No. And Mr. Hyde, who was a president of the museum, could not be a member of JWV.
That's okay, because we do have someone listed on the people who have passed away from Afghanistan, who is, what is it? No, not his name. Not his name. Black Hebrews. Black Israelites, yeah. So,
go ahead.
So,
Raquel.
I hear exactly what you're saying. It's a secular museum. All of us know.
Are you speaking for or against the motion? Or
I'm just throwing information out.
Ah, okay.
Not one side or another. I'm just saying from a standpoint of, we know that when we're in the military.
Raquel, can you say your name and who you are?
I'm sorry. Rachel Hyman, Post 210, Department of the Southwest. And we know wherever we walk, and maybe me and definitely my husband, when he walks around, you can see that he's Jewish. And we know that when we're in the military or any other time and someone finds out we're Jewish, we already are the example of Judaism for that person or for that organization. So while I hear you, we're saying we're a secular museum. It is all about Jewish history and Jewish military history. So whatever we do, there's a concept called Maris Ayin. And so whatever we do, either someone else who's Jewish or someone who's not Jewish, is going to look at that and say, so that's what Jews do. When someone goes to their employer and says, I need to take these days off for work. And the employer says, I don't know what you're talking about because all these other people who work for us who are also Jewish don't do it either. So why do you think that you can get it off? It all of a sudden is a problem. So I'm just saying is that when we're having a standard, or not even a standard, but just a reminder that whatever we do is that we are representing Judaism and how we're looked at.
Thank you. Right after Larry, okay?
I remember what the title of our museum is. It is the National Museum of American Jewish Military History. Jews of all denominations have fought in the military, and people who have converted to Judaism have fought in the military. And I've had rabbis say to me, why am I wasting money by having kosher food at a convention? And other rabbis saying that nothing should be served that isn't kosher. We are not a religious, the museum in particular is not a religious organization. It is open to everybody, as Norm said. And although I agree with the theory of Mara Zion and all of that, it is not in place as far as I'm concerned in the museum. We are a national museum of the role that American Jews have played in the military history of our country. Not the history of Judaism,
Right.
but in the military history of our country.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Larry?
Larry Jasper, Post 373, Department of Florida. Just want to make one simple statement. The Holocaust Museum is open on Shabbat.
It's federal. Hold on a minute, Mike.
So is the National Museum of American Jewish History is also open on Saturdays at First Row Petra, and they are observed on the Jewish holidays. Just wanted to point that out.
Well, no. But let Mike go ahead. But I don't want any comment that's positive after this. Because everybody's agreeing, and I know we don't need to keep agreeing. So if you're not going to speak against it, I don't want to, except for Mike Rugel, who can speak on anything
I
he
just wanted
wants.
to point out, I don't know if people know, our Sunday policy, we're not fully open on Sundays right now. We're open by appointment for
Right.
groups of 6 or more, which for me as a museum visitor would mean, I'm not going to go on a Sunday. So that is one potential way for people that have 9-to-5 jobs and can't make it to the museum to give a little more access.
Yeah. Okay. I will. Jerry?
Yeah, one quick
No,
thing.
Jerry, that's enough. I don't want to hear anything positive. If you don't say something negative, I'm going to cut you right
I'm going
off.
to say something very negative. Based on, okay, let us say
No.
that we go forward with the idea, this is a secular institution and all that.
Jerry, what is your negative point?
We then should remove the chapel from
No, Jerry,
the
sit down.
museum.
Thank you.
Do we have to take a vote?
Yes. Yes. We're not removing the chapel. So, and I'm not going to discuss it. End the discussion.
That's Jewish war veterans anyhow.
Yeah.
The building is Jewish war veterans who owns the building.
No, the museum.
Okay.
Yeah. Carol?
I was going to let Mr. Goldwasser finish his point, because you're absolutely correct. But I understand where Rocco is going with this. And I just want you all to make sure that when you make... I'm sorry. Oh, wow. As y'all can tell, I'm not used to speaking in mics. When I get my soldiers in front of me, I can forget it. I understand the path that Rocco is taking with this, and I just want you all to be very, very understanding of where we're going. And you're correct. Holocaust Museum is doing this. Other museums are doing this. Even the recently opened Museum of Southern Jewish Experience, they're open on Shabbos.
I agree with you.
But
I mean, I have to tell you, 2 or 3 of us have been fighting to keep it closed, and I have been one of them, I'll tell you that. And I understand the issue, and we're going to walk very softly down this road.
And that's what I was going to say. With me,
Yes.
with me being in uniform, That's the only time I actually work on Shabbos is being in uniform, because a rabbi has told me he equates our military service to saving a life. So as in terms of what we're doing, please understand, we are harboring, not only, even though it's a secular museum, we are not only harboring the history of Jews, we're harboring basically the souls of Jews. Because when we say their names, when we expose their stories, I don't just think about that decision just for me, but how would they want us to present them? When do they want us to present them? How do they want us to present them? So I'm not saying that all of us together as a collective is not going to make the right decision, but just please note, that's what we ultimately have on our shoulders.
Okay. Okay, Raquel, make it short, and Jeff, because I'm going to call the thing.
This is little, 100% is little. I'm just going off as far as what Mike had brought up. Why are we not open on Sundays? Aren't all of these other museums also open on Sundays?
We're not on Sunday, you said?
Yeah.
We are open on Sunday. No, Raquel?
By appointment only?
Because of expense, that's the only reason.
Ah.
It's a
So by
financial
appointment
decision.
only on Sunday, which is a big day for tourism, but
Yes.
this would then be
Okay,
the alternative.
yeah. I just want to speak on Shabbos because the rest was a financial decision.
Well, I thought Jeff Sachs, board member and national commander for about another 2 hours. I thought I should relay Peter Nikitas' points to me while he was texting me, that there were some major baseball players that refused to play on Shabbat,
Yes,
like
there
Sandy
were.
Koufax.
Yom Kippur. It was Yom Kippur that you...
Maybe. Okay.
Yes, there
But
was.
Remember, when people look...
Okay, let's get to your point, and then we'll move
My
on.
point is, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we're pretty much a Jewish board of directors. And, you know, if we open on Shabbat, that sets a really bad precedent. Now, if we do it because we're having Shabbat services, and please enjoy our museum after services, that's okay with me too, but.
That's my point.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So let's figure out a
Okay.
way to do this right.
This is new business because, yes. All right. Okay, I guess since I'm standing up here, we need a motion. Okay, second? Second. Okay. The voice of the motion is, as long as we're having services in the building, we will attempt to remain open for the rest of the day for people coming in at essentially no charge, no collection of money, with donation cards, a donation pot there, and those kinds of things.
But you should put something which says, since we are not, then please donate.
Oh, okay, that's fine, that's essentially what we're doing. But no, there's no, hold on. Raquel, there is no, we did that, there was no more discussion. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Hold on. Nelson's on the board of directors.
Nelson Mellis, Department of New Jersey, Post 126, Southern New Jersey. I'd just like to make an amendment to that ad on a 12-month test basis.
Fine.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the amendment? I'm looking at the people as I look around the room. They are board members. All those opposed? Since nobody's opposed, it carries. Okay.
We're going to go into,
Yes.
okay, so you continue.
All right. Before I start the nominations and the other stuff, I want to thank, as coordinating committee chairman, I do want to report that JWV, the museum, the building, and the building efforts to keep it running. The museum actually owns the building, JWV runs the building. JWV picks up all the expenses of the building. We have no more mortgage, so the museum does not pay a mortgage anymore. So I want to say we've had cooperation for the whole year. It's been that way for a number of years, and I certainly am planning on hoping that everyone will keep working the same way. The three organizations, well, it's actually four organizations that live there. The museum, JWV, the foundation, and JWVA. We all have lived in that building now, all of us, for over 10 years. JWVA and JWV have lived over the buildings for either 125 or 94? 93, right. So I am hoping, and I see no reason not to expect, that this cooperation will continue for the next 125 years. Right. At this time, I'm going to present the list of officers that were presented from the nominating committee. There were no other selections selected. There is a process that if you want to run for office, you can submit it to the office 30 days ahead of time. There were none other than the list that I'm about to read. The officers that are elected are President Michael B. Berman, First Vice President Elaine Bernstein, Second Vice President Joanne Bloom, Third Vice President Robert Richter. I'm sorry, Robert Picard. It's my mistake, Robert Picard. Thank you. The Board of Directors for members at large: Jerry Alperstein, Freda Rosenshine, Stanley B. Rolnick, Barry Lashinsky, Linda Carter.
Linda Cologne.
Jesus. Linda Cologne. Yes, Linda Carter was a very attractive woman, I know. Yes. Carl Singer, Robert Max, Joseph Goldstein, Floyd Williams, Warren Dolney, and Kim Queen. The JWV NMI representatives that were elected at the NEC Tuesday are Carol Berman, Alan Cantor, the Honorable Ted Deutsch, Richard Fine, Gary Ginsberg, Sidney Goldberg, Arthur Greenwald, Ike Heller, Robert Jacobs, Art Kaplan, Gerald Levine, Sidney Lichter, Nelson Melitz, Alan Paley, Larry Rosenthal, Richard Rosenzweig, Jeffrey Sachs, Marcia Schoenberg, Darren Selnick, Jerry Silverman, Ron Silvernell, Scott Stevens, the Honorable Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and Lou Wunderlich. The members from the JWVA are National President Sandra Cantor, Advisory Board Chairman Petra Katz, Senior Vice President Natalie Blank, Junior Vice President Shirley Zach, National Judge Advocate Sophie Ruderman, JWVA Museum Chairman Iris Goldwasser, elected member Roz Kaplan. I assume they already all paid their $100 each, and I realize that is an assumption. But Michael will go around, not this Michael, that Michael, will eventually go around and check everybody. That is the people that are nominated. Move the question?
Secretary cast one ballot for the election of the officers and directors.
Is there any objection? I instruct the secretary to cast one ballot for the election of all of the officers presented in the list, and we will give you the list. I thank you. Now, for all of those people whose names were mentioned, will you please rise?
Stay seated. Stay
No,
seated.
Michael, you stay seated. Everybody else can stand up. Michael has special privilege. Right. Right. At this point in time, I'm going to make, again, another assumption that I have made previously, that all of the people who are standing will faithfully withhold and continue doing the jobs that they have been selected to do. And if someone, yeah, first thing is pay $100 dues if you haven't done. And the second thing is, and I want to bring it forward, if someone feels that they cannot do it, immediately contact the office and we will correct the situation. I do not want people to take these jobs that Mike has assigned already, committees, that if you're not going to work on the committees and do the jobs, then please let us know and we will certainly seek someone else. I understand personal commitment, but it's important that you all accept the responsibility that we've taken and move forward. At this point in time, if no one wishes to release themselves, sit down and do a year's worth of work. Warren, did you have a question? I saw your hand, Warren. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you all, and I expect another good year, and I turn it back over to Elaine. It's all yours, Elaine.
If there's no other new business, we will go into donations. If you could please line up at the mic. Okay, the first donation of the day is the $50,000 from the Department of New York. After you announce your donation, please come see Mike Rugel. Oh, hold on.
It's a donation.
Okay. Petra, hold off.
Before we start, I'm going to take a board privilege, and I'm going to make a little statement. How many people here know Harvey Friedman, knew Harvey Friedman? Yes. Yes. Well, one thing I want to say, when Harvey's post merged, they merged with my post, and they gave us a considerable amount of money. So I'm going to, for the Memorial Garden, donate on behalf of Post 213, which no longer, or 273, which no longer exists, and Post 63, $10,000, which the majority comes from Post 73. Thank you all very much.
Very nice. Thank you, Norman.
I thought it was worthwhile again.
Oh, definitely. Petra?
Okay. On behalf of my husband and myself, a donation of $100 to be used toward the Vietnam exhibit. On behalf of Queens County Council, $200 pledge for the general operations.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Dallas Ladies Auxiliary number 256, we would like to donate $300 to the museum.
Thank you.
Hi, past National President Charlene Ehrlich. I would like to thank Mike Rugel for straightening out a paperwork problem. I had received a yahrzeit reminder from my husband, past County Commander Alan Ehrlich, and the date was dated 2020. So, and I had looked it up, and it's actually September 24th, 2021, $18 in his memory to the yahrzeit fund.
Thank you, Charlene.
On behalf of Post 256 of Dallas, we'd like to donate $1,500 in honor of President Sandra Cannon.
Thank you. You might want to lower the mic, Joanne.
Well, I hate to touch it.
That's fine.
Okay, from Joanne and Jerry Bloom, we'd like to donate 10 times high, $180 for general operations.
Thank you.
Okay. Tracy Adler, Carol Adler, and Al Adler, we'd like to donate $36 to the general fund.
Thank you.
Sandra Cantor, National President. I'm sorry I ran out of checks, but I do have a little bit of cash.
Sisters and comrades, it's very hard to hear the donations when people are talking in the room. I'm sorry. If you know, we're not telling you not to talk, but maybe stand outside. Thank you.
And so this is a personal donation of $20 cash for honoring my husband, the National Officer of the Day, Alan.
Nice.
You short people.
That's her husband. I hope he honors her.
You sure? I'd like to donate $100 to the Women in Military for honor of my wife, for the second time around National President of the Auxiliary.
Okay. I have a check here for $200, but I have it earmarked, one for $100 for the general fund and the other $100 for the Women in the Military exhibit. Given all the support that the Vietnam Committee has gotten,
Awesome.
it's
Who
time
are
for-
you?
Huh?
What's your name? Who are you?
Bob Jacobs, Department of New Jersey, and Marcia Jacobs.
Okay.
It's coming up.
Who's this young lady?
What's your name?
Elaine, Megan, and Michael Bernstein.
We have a $36 donation in memory of PNC Paul Bernstein and PDP Leah Messer.
Thank you.
Alan Paley, National Vice Commander, on behalf of Nelson Melitz and myself, our joint campaign would like to donate $1,800 to the museum for the Jewish Women in the Military exhibit.
And we thank both of you for that donation.
Matthew Millen, Post 118, we're buying a paver for a $500 paver in memory of Jerry King, past commander of Post 617.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Gary Ginsberg, Post 41, Rochester, Department of New York. And next year we celebrate our 90th birthday at Post 41, and we're going to donate $1,000 to the Memorial Gardens.
Thank you.
Shirley Sack, I'm donating $100 for the Guardian membership.
The Guardian membership.
She has problems with her. Stephanie Naftalowicz, in memory of my husband Jerry Naftalowicz, and I want to pledge $500 to Women in History for the Memorial Garden.
Richard Fine, Department of Pennsylvania. We received 2 certificates today from the museum in honor of Don Feldman, Post 98 Commander, who was responsible for that. We're making a $100 donation, in addition to which, having just been appointed, I have a $100 check for my appointment.
Thank you.
I'm going to beam somebody before it's over with. Ron Savernal, past post commander, Department 7 or Post 755, Fort Worth, the great state of Texas. $2,000, $1,000 to the General Museum, $1,000 to the ladies, the great ladies of the military.
That's 1,000 to the women in the military and 1,000 to the general fund. We're going steady.
Barry Lashinsky, Department of Massachusetts, North Shore Post 220. I guess money is money. What I'd like to do is buy a life membership to the museum. And here's my check in here.
Thank you.
The other thing, if I could say, with Veterans Day coming up, if you're not showing the spirit, courage, and conviction, a tour of our museum, you're missing out. Furthermore, if you don't even know what it is, you're really missing out. It's on YouTube, and also Mike has some videos, and I highly suggest you show this at your temple, shul, congregations, Chabads, JCCs, wherever you can. And I want to thank the Department of New York because I know they were very influential on putting that DVD together. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Georgie Jasper, Department of Florida, Post 373. Myself and Larry would like to donate towards the general operations and membership 3-year in honor of our children, Andrew, Bradley, Craig, and Danielle. Additionally, the children and I would like to donate our heroes' photos to Larry, and that's what I have.
Thank you very much.
Kim Queen, Department of Wisconsin, Post 701. My wife and I would like to pledge $180 in memory of her uncle, World War II and Korean War veteran Sherman Elias, who recently passed away due to COVID. The Department of Wisconsin would also like to pledge $100 in memory of of 2 World War II veterans who recently passed away from COVID, Harold Glick and Paul Fine.
Thank you. I'm a little short. Go ahead. I can go?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're going to give him the paper. Go ahead. Natalie Blank, past national president. I like that. And I'd like to make my membership for $100 and also an $18 donation.
Thank you, Natalie.
Gary Ginsberg, Department of New York. I'm going to make a personal donation of $100 to the general operations of the museum.
Thank you. I just, before you go, we're going to have one more donation, but I just want to say, Georgie Jasper got up here and gave $100 for the kiosks. Please, 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 every one of you veterans should be on our kiosk. It's only $100. If you're not on it, shame on you.
I used to be famous. In honor of your confidence in me, for the next year, I will personal donation of $2,500.
Thank you, Michael. Marcia?
Marcia Jacobs, Department of New Jersey, President of our Auxiliary 178. I am giving a check for $100 to renew my membership to the museum. My husband is writing it.
Good job. Okay, any other new business? Sorry, I made a mistake. Any other donations? Yes, see? Good thing I asked.
Hi, Carol
Hi.
Berman, Post Commander, Post 580, New Orleans, $100 American. Thank you.
Okay, I could just, it's time to close the meeting. You want to say anything? Figured you
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank Elaine for running the meeting. For those who don't recall, last Sunday, I was taken out of this building on a stretcher. Norman was kind enough to stop by and has always stopped by whenever I needed help or whenever. So I thank you all for coming. We are, again, as we always say, the best kept secret around DuPont Circle. If you can organize your posts or your departments to get a bus together and run to Washington to see the building, I'm sure there are people in this room who have not seen our building. And that's most unfortunate because you're part of the reason that we're unknown. So with that, I thank you all. You've done a marvelous job. Elaine, please close in due fashion.
There being no further business to come before this museum meeting, I now declare the meeting closed. What? What'd you- Natalie, she'll never hear. This isn't right. Show Natalie. This is up here. I gotta ask the, yeah. That's all I just need.